Hello, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Yepboat. I'm your host, Ben, as always, and today we're going to look at the upcoming patch, which is going to hit very soon, hopefully. We're going to talk about the meta, another meta update on how things have evolved this week compared to how it used to be. And we're going to talk about something that I think is interesting about what the difference between someone who is on the leaderboards and a 10k player. So, what it takes to hit top 200 and be featured on the Hearthstone website and stuff like that, and the different mindset, my journey, how I became 13k from being hard stuck 9k, what it took to actually get past that mental barrier. So I think it's going to be interesting to end on because there's actually not that much to talk about. The reason I haven't uploaded much or streamed much is because Hearthstone has been pretty dead at the moment, but things are going to change soon. So let's get started with the upcoming patch. What is coming soon? Basically, this is all stuff that Ixar talked about in this AMA. He now does this weekly thing where people can ask him questions on Twitter and he tries to answer them on behalf of the team. These can be design questions, things about balancing, updates, stuff like that. So most of these things come from that AMA, and then there's also some speculation going, which I'll talk about as well. First of all, Junkbot. Finally, our beloved unit Junkbot, the one that has been in the game since the start, is gonna get a change probably. Ixar talked about moving Junkbot to tier 4. I like it a lot. So Junkbot didn't see any play anymore recently because everything is about scaling. Back in the day when Battlegrounds first got released, Junkbot was it. Everyone needed Junkbot. It was the best unit in the game because there wasn't that much scaling. There wasn't that many ways to grow a board, and Junkbot was also tier 4 I think when it first came out, so you could hit it really early, and mechs were so strong with the old school deflectobot, I forgot the name. Anyway, it was just a really big unit, and back in the day stats were insane. Junkbot was so big nothing could really beat it. So if someone had a golden Junkbot, they often won the lobby, which is nuts if you think about it right now. It's crazy because now you get countered by a single spore, a 1/1 poison. But yeah, Junkbot fell off when more scaling was introduced, like dragons and elementals. Now it's moving back, and I think this is actually a really, really good change, and Junkbot might see play with specific heroes and if the meta changes. Greybow might be able to make Junkbot work at tier 4 because, well, Greybow has good synergy. You summon mechs, they get taunt, Junkbot gets buffed. And because it's on tier 4, you can hit it really early. You can hit it on turn 5 on 7 gold when people sometimes triple into 4 stars already. So now there's more benefit to tripling into a 4-star sometimes because there's Junkbot. So instead of hitting a Herald of Flame or a Bolvar for tempo, you can actually hit a little bit of direction, if you want to call this direction. It doesn't compare to other stuff, of course. I'm not going to compare this to a Bran or a Lightfang, but it's a good tempo unit. Like, you could take it if you have a bunch of mech stuff. It could be decent, you know. I have high hopes. I think it's going to be featured in mech builds from time to time and for heroes like Greybow, but yeah, it's not gonna compare to the good comps yet. But hey, we got Junkbot, maybe some Junkbot action soon, so I can't complain. Next up, talking about Khadgar. So if you don't know what is wrong with Khadgar, I'm not gonna go into it again because I ranted on it pretty much every single video I make. So if you want to see me in depth talking about the issues with Khadgar, brand Khadgar, and triples and stuff like that, I recommend you check out the latest podcast episode. In that episode, we also talk about all of the ways that we could improve or fix this issue. So Khadgar, there were multiple suggestions that you guys left me in the comments, that I've read on Twitter, that you guys posted in Discord. There's so many ways, creative solutions that we had to fix brand Khadgar. And the one that Ixar proposed and that they talked about, that is probably going to happen next patch, is one that no one suggested. This is a change that I haven't heard from anyone, which is interesting because I've heard so many good things. There's so many different ways to fix this. But I like it. It does have an issue, though, that I'm going to talk about. But what they proposed is to basically make it so you can only get 1 triple for every token. Let's say you have a golden brand, a golden Khadgar, and a normal Khadgar. Now if you play a token, I don't know exactly how many triples you get, but let's say 6, right? You play a token, summon 3 tokens triple, summon 3 triple, and you get like 6 triples in with 1 token. That's not going to be possible anymore. Wow, pronunciation. What happens now is it does the animations first, so it summons all the tokens, and then it makes triples from the tokens. So you play your token with your Golden Brand, Golden Khadgar, stuff like that. It summons, and then as soon as summoning is done, it triples the token. So you only get one triple from that token, meaning it doesn't matter how many Golden Brands or Khadgars you have. If you just have one Brand and one Khadgar or double Khadgar, you're going to get one triple. What this means is that Gendis is still going to be strong, and Khadgar is still going to be in the game. You can still get triples with Brand, Khadgar, and tokens, right? It's still in the game. So unless they fix Gendis, it's still a really big issue, because Gendis can triple into Khadgar on turn 3 if they have a token on turn 1, and then they can just get a triple every 2 turns, which is nuts. And also, other heroes can still get triples with Khadgars. Not like it used to be. For example, I think transitioning into tier 6 units into Exodia is going to be dead. You can't go into double Kaligos, double Amalgadon, double Nadina anymore, because you would need like 12 triples in a turn. I think that's pretty much impossible unless you roll 12 tokens somehow, but I think those very toxic instant win combos are gone, which I'm really happy about, so that fixes that. But you are still going to see some action with it in the early game. I think in higher ranks, probably not in lower ranks. I mean, Khadgar doesn't show up there anyway, but I feel like heroes, even Hooktusk can get tokens early with, or just generate tokens with the hero power. What heroes, Gendis, like I mentioned, Shadowwalk can pass its hero power with a Khadgar for a triple. So I feel like people are still going to use Khadgars to get like 1 or 2 or 3 triples in one turn into a couple 5s. So it's not super toxic anymore, but people are still going to spike or use tempo and generate triples that they shouldn't early on to have an advantage. So unless they tackle that and they fix Gendis, and we'll see how it goes. I think this fixes most of the issue. I really like this change because it's not that you can still get triples with tokens, just no million triples from one token anymore, but you're still going to see some of it in the early game. Luckily, it's not going to be that big of an issue anymore. So that's what they propose for Brand Khadgar, or just Khadgar transitions in general. I like it. We'll see how it goes. But I'm still a little bit scared. I feel like just getting rid of Khadgar would have been better, because we still got the Scalawag Exodia and stuff like that. But hey, let's move on. They also talked about the prizes, the spells. At first, they were really cool. I liked prizes, right? Because it gave a catch-up mechanic. It was so flexible. You need a tempo if you want to go greedy. A lot of options, but very quickly it became very stale, and they realized that as well. Like after a month, everyone knows what the good prizes are. If you hit +1/+1 on your board, you're set. There's just a lot of issues with the prizes right now, and everyone wants them gone because, well, they became boring, and they allow this Highroll meta to exist in the first place. So yeah, luckily they're gone very soon, probably with the next patch, so let's look forward to that. And they are talking about making more races. This was the Darkmoon Fair races, I think, so they are making more races. For standard, that means more cards. For Battlegrounds, we don't know what that means. Let's hope it's not more spells, right? I feel like with the previous statement that they released, the next update with something like this regarding the game is not going to be spells anymore. I feel like they're going to try different things, which I'm happy about. So we might get another interesting mechanic come up for 2 months in the next patch. Then the last thing I want to talk about for that was speculation, or that the Ixar talked about in his AMA, is that they want to do more frequent updates for Battlegrounds, which I'm surprised about, because I feel like they update Battlegrounds more frequently than they used to. Or standard, like a year ago, were very little patches, very little updates. And I feel like with Battlegrounds, sometimes they're very quick to change things, which I'm happy about. Now, this meta has been a bit of an issue. They have kind of lacked with feedback and with balancing, but hey, it can happen sometimes. But they want to update more frequently, they said, which of course I'm happy about. But they also said that they're scared of changing too much because that could hurt the accessibility of the game, which makes sense. Battlegrounds is seen as a casual game mode compared to standard. It's free to play. Anyone can just play Battlegrounds, play the game, minions attack themselves. It's, I think, a low skill floor. You can easily get into it and learn how the game essentially works, right? And I have fun in lower ranks. There's a high skill ceiling though if you want to rank up, but it's easy to get into. Casual, they want to keep it that way, which is probably the reason why we don't have esports. Blizzard, please. But yeah, that's why they don't want to make too many big changes to Battlegrounds, because it could hurt the player experience for casuals. And a good example is I played Teamfight Tactics a while ago, and I really enjoyed it. I was like platinum or diamond, and then I didn't play for 1 or 2 weeks, and they changed so much. Heroes changed, compositions changed, the meta. I couldn't keep up with it. It was just so much new stuff I had to learn. I did quit the game, and I feel like they're scared of that happening as well. Now TFT is not really that casual of a game, but Hearthstone is. So if they make too many changes to Battlegrounds to make it more competitive or stuff like that, they are gonna lose the player base, which is essentially, I think, what they mean with the statement. So it's kind of double-sided that they want to do more frequent changes, but that they don't want to make too many changes because it could hurt the game. So more changes, less changes. I'm not really sure where they want to go with these two different statements, but we'll see. I'm already happy that they talked about doing more Battlegrounds updates. That was most of it with the upcoming patches. Other small things that, you know, they hinted at, but I think these are some of the biggest things that XR actually talked about and that are like semi-confirmed, not really, but yeah. The meta. Let's talk about the meta. How is the meta right now? Shit. I'm just gonna put it as it is. The meta is really bad. I think the previous meta was one of the best metas we had. It was a lot playable, so much to do. I had a lot of fun, and this meta is so bad. I actually haven't played in a week. So if you follow me on Twitch and you haven't seen me stream for over a week, that's why, guys. I'm not enjoying it, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people having complaints about it, but I'll talk about it in a little bit, what the issues are exactly with the meta. I'm just gonna wait probably till next patch. I might stream like a couple times, but yeah, if a patch is coming up in 1 or 2 weeks, then I'd rather wait for a second until things get fixed and my gameplay actually matters, because this meta is even more high-rolly and power levely than it was before, which results in people that are 14 or 15k dropping down to 11k, or you drop thousands of ranks. So many top players that I know are good at the game dropped so many ranks because it's out of their hands, which sucks. And that's what happens when you introduce Highroll metas, because Battlegrounds consists of strategy and RNG, right? If you just on pure strategy game, you play chess. Chess has no RNG. The pieces move certain ways. That's it. You learn the game, and there's super high skill ceiling. With Battlegrounds or with Hearthstone in general, there's always going to be RNG because of random effects, but that's a small part of the game usually, right? You have RNG and you can kind of do risk management. So a good player has good strategy, knows when to go for RNG plays when they have to. They know what the risk reward is, how much they can get out of it, and stuff like that. It's generally, there's a lot of skill involved still with high level play in Battlegrounds. But if you move to a Highroll meta like this, most of the strategy gets pushed into the RNG. So RNG matters more than the strategy, meaning if someone high rolls in a lobby, it's going to matter more than the people who play well but don't high roll. While a good meta is a lot of strategy with a bit of RNG. So that way good players will always outperform bad players because they have better strategy. And maybe if someone super high rolls, yeah, they'll still win the lobby, but it's going to be a very small percentage of the time. And with proper, well, strategy, you can manage how much you want to put into the hands of the RNG gods. But in this meta, you're forced to put so much into high rolling. You gotta roll the triples. If you don't roll the triples, you're dead. You gotta power level and not die. You die, well, you're dead. The matchups matter so much. What spells you get, who you face on what turn. And then if you hit your triple, you need the good stuff. There's so many essential triples that you need to hit. If you don't hit them, you're fucked. And because other people will have them, and the power difference is just so huge right now between heroes and between units. If you hit double Caligos, even if you hit double Caligos, people can get third place. That's how nuts it is, because of other people doing even better. So yeah, that's the meta in a nutshell. That's why I'm not playing. I'm not ready to lose ranks. That's out of my control. I'd rather stay here safe and silent at 13.2k. With it. Like, I'm happy with my rank. I want to mess it up. To give you an example of what this meta means is that Alex Raza and Patchwork are now playable. Alex can just level to tier 5. I've seen Alex is on 32 HP on tier 5, on like 8 gold. It's crazy. And Patchwork can also just power level. Patchwork's such a shit hero, is now playable. Like, what? Also, it's the meta with the least positive win rate heroes. There's only 6 heroes that are positive right now, which I don't think we've ever seen before. According to HS Replay, usually there's like 10 or 12 heroes that have a positive win rate, so on average you'll win with them. There's only 6 heroes that you will win with on average. And this is the same for top 1% and top 50%. I checked both. Elise is always at the top because it's Elise. Then we have Akazanzurak, Katoon, interestingly enough. And Katoon is interesting because at first, when it was released, the very first couple of weeks, people thought Katoon was horrible, was bad. She was, and now she is the 3rd best. Which is odd because tempo doesn't do good. Heroes like Yogg and Kaltaz, heroes that put stats on the board early, are bad right now, which is very odd. Then we also have Omu in 4th place, Rafam in 5th, and we have Ragnaros in 6th, which is also weird. Rag is also a tempo hero that made it into the top 6 for some reason. So I don't really understand why Katoon and Rag are so high rated, but the others make sense because they can level quickly, they can get triples easily, and spike. Now, one other thing I'll mention in this meta is sometimes you have lobbies that want to punish the high rollers. Because usually what I expected with the previous meta and Lost Yepboat episode, it was greedy, right? It can go 3 ways. The meta can just stay the same and stay stale, which didn't happen. There's 2 other ways it could go into. Either people start countering the meta and start playing more for tempo. So they start punishing the high rollers, the power levelers, stuff like that, by playing more for tempo, and then the meta goes into a healthier direction because things start countering each other and starts balancing out a bit, which is often the case. But this time it went more into the other direction, which is even more high roll. If people high roll, that means that everyone has to join them, right, and try to out high roll them. And then you have scenarios where the entire lobby can just power level to tier 6 because, you know, your opponent power levels, so you can power level as well without taking damage. And next turn the same happens. So when everyone gets the same mindset, you get these crazy lobbies that just don't, they're just so weird. Like I said, I haven't been playing myself. I've mainly been watching streams and talking to other players. Like I was hanging out in XD stream and Slissas and asked questions, and that's what everyone has told me so far, that it's super hard. Like everyone can just level to tier 6 sometimes, whatever hero you are. But there is people sometimes that chose the other route and that tempo you down with taunt comp. Yes, taunt comp is actually like okay now, playable apparently. I don't think it's very widespread, but I know in a couple of games, high rank games that I've seen, people went for taunt comp to just rush down those power levelers when they missed. So they tried power leveling themselves and high rolling, but they missed, so they stabilized with Kiraju Harbinger, the 4/5, forgot the name, and just be strong and get 4th place maybe. So that's the meta in a nutshell. In 1 week or 1.5 weeks, we'll get an update, and hopefully they address the heroes. In the AMA, I don't think they talked about Elise or about Omu, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna change them. They haven't done a nerf in a while. This meta has lasted too long. I'm sure they're gonna change up things a lot in the next patch. So I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, I'm gonna make an update video as soon as it hits. So yeah, look out for that. Now, the final thing I want to talk about in this Yepboat is difference between leaderboards players and 10k players. So the mindset that is different from someone who has to perform at the highest level and someone who is trying to perform at the highest level. And then I'm also going to talk about a bit about my personal journey, how I reached it, what it took me to get there. So maybe you get inspiration from that and it will help you a little bit out. So it's this is like an informational segment in Yepboat. I usually don't do that, but I want to try it out and see if you guys enjoy it, and I might do it more. So my journey, I started playing Battlegrounds casually with a friend. I think I was floating around 6k most of the time. That was when Battlegrounds started for a couple months, I think. The Junkbot meta was really fun. And at some point I realized I was not that bad. I was climbing Battlegrounds and I had fun with it. So I used to hit Legend every month in Standard. And I tried to push for Battlegrounds instead and stopped hitting Legend in Standard. And I noticed I got hard stuck at 9k, and back then leaderboards was like 11k, 12k maybe. I think the highest rated player, I remember when it was like 10k. It was insane to see someone at 10k MMR. Look where we are now. But yeah, I wanted to hit leaderboards, but I was super hard stuck. And I did what most people do, what you guys probably do, and that is watch content and ask questions. Now, there's a couple issues with that, and there's a couple ways you can actually do better than just ask questions. So let me explain. It's good to ask questions, okay? First of all, if you have questions about the game, ask them. It's good to watch content, you know, watch streamers and watch games. Because back then there were no guide videos like I'm creating. That's why I'm making this channel. I'm making so many guide videos on early game, mid game. It doesn't exist yet. If you Google for it, it doesn't exist. So I had to figure that stuff out on my own. And I had a notebook where I wrote all of that down, and I used that notebook kind of as a script for those videos, right? But metas also change it and stuff like that. So what the issue is with questions is I see people asking questions to me or to other streamers, and I used to do it myself, about what hero should I pick? Should I go dragons? Is this a good unit? It's just the basic stuff. And the big issue, there's two issues with that. First of all, it changes. If they say dragons is good, okay, but maybe in a week the meta changes and dragons sucks. So metas and patches and updates constantly change things. So if you learn something, maybe in a week you have to unlearn it and learn a different thing. Second thing is, it depends. One question brings 10 or 20 different questions with it. If you ask, should I go Omu? Or no, if you ask, should I go, let's use dragons again. Then the streamer could say yes or no, but that is not going to be a good answer. Why? It depends on your health, your matchup. What does your shop have? What tier are you? What hero are you? What tribes are in the lobby? What is the meta like? There's so many things that influence questions that you ask that you can't have a subjective answer to it. I mean, if someone asks you to go dragons, you should say yes because it's the best performing tribe, but sometimes it's better to go something else depending on your situation. So it is really hard to ask correct questions to people and actually have valuable answers, right? The best thing you can do or ask is how to get better. Now, again, everyone has their own personal things they gotta work on. If you ask how to get better, what are you bad at? Is it economy that is your issue? Are you not leveling properly? Can you not play certain heroes or certain tribes? Do you have trouble with recognizing which units are strong? So I think the best thing you can do is, instead of asking questions to others, ask them to yourself. Like, how do I get better? Then identify what do I need to get better at. That's why I had my notebook. I started recording my own games. I got OBS. I record my own games, and after every game, I look at them. And I see, why did I lose? What turn did I lose? Should I have bought that instead or this? And I ask others, because now I have specific questions about specific cases and scenarios that others can review with me and give me actual valuable feedback on. And that's how I started getting better. And the biggest thing that's going to change your games is changing your games. Yes, what I just said. You just have to change stuff. We are creatures of habits. We humans are pattern-based animals. We create habits, we fall into them, and we stick to them because we follow patterns. So there were units that I thought were really good that I kept buying. There were tribes that I kept picking. There were heroes that I kept picking. And because it's habits, right? And we follow certain patterns. And then you just need someone to tell you, stop doing it. Stop buying this unit, buy this unit instead. And it's really hard to do because it's against your intuition. You think, I thought that unit was bad, but people are telling me it's good. Maybe I should try it. Like Gold Grubber, for example. I thought it was bad, but it was meta and people were winning games with it. So I noticed that other people are beating me with Gold Grubber. So I started buying it, and I started not buying the units that I usually buy, which would be Deflectabots back at the time. And I saw me doing better, and I actually started winning games, doing things that I normally wouldn't, by changing up the game style and going against my own intuition. And then you create a new habit because you fall into the pattern, or you notice that, wait, I'm winning games doing this, and you keep doing it, and it just wires into your brain. And that way you start looking at the game differently. So do things different. Don't be scared to try out stuff, mess around, and see what works, see how you actually climb. Yeah, what I talked about is reviewing games. That's why I'm doing BG review as well, because if someone did BG review, I would definitely send in a game back in the day, because having someone review your footage is so helpful. I've said so many people that I reviewed their games tell me that it's so helpful to know your specific things that you have to work on, your specific flaws, because for everyone is different, and it's the biggest improvement you can make to know what is holding you back, which is hard to figure out on your own, which is why it took me so long to hit leaderboards. But yeah, eventually I hit 10k, 11k, 12k leaderboards. Nice. Now another big difference, so that's basically my journey, how I hit it, how much it took me. A big difference that I noticed between being 13k and 10k is that as 10k people, you ask questions, right? Nothing wrong with that, but they ask the questions to the 13k people or 14k people, so that those need to be the people with the answers. So in order to be high ranked, you need to have the answers and not be the one asking the questions. How do you do that? Is by asking the questions to yourself and trying to come up with the solution. Meaning you have to be the first to understand the meta, first to adapt, the first to figure things out and understand the fundamentals of the game. As soon as you understand all the fundamentals, scaling, how does late game work, what is win conditions, when is something good, when is something bad. As soon as you got all of that down, as soon as a new patch releases, you play a lot, you learn a lot, you'll be the first one to know what works, what wins, and then you stay on the leaderboard. Because you have people who hit leaderboard and drop out of it because, well, they were good at a certain meta and then they drop back out of it. And you have people that are consistently top of the leaderboard because they're very good at adapting and consistently changing compared to the environment that Battlegrounds throws at them. And those are the people that do have the answers for the questions that people are asking about the game in order to get better. So if that makes any sense, you should do a lot of research yourself, a lot of thinking yourself. Don't let others always do the thinking for you. Of course, if you're new to the game, you gotta learn all those basics, you gotta ask questions. But as soon as you got a decent rank and you feel like you're ready to push to the next level, start doing your own research. Also, I shouldn't say this, but high level players also need to constantly play on full focus, because micro decisions matter a lot. Very small misplays mean a lot. And the one thing that both people have in common, no matter what rank you are, is to constantly learn. Even top players, there's new patches happening, new tribes introduced, heroes, have to constantly learn. As soon as you think, I'm good enough, I don't need to learn, I'll just play the game and stomp people because I'm strong, you're gonna fall off, because you as well have to constantly adapt and learn. Never fall off, always be on the grind. It's a wrong mindset to have that you just need to play 12 hours a day and grind to hit that high rank. No. Spend your time wisely. Work smart, not hard. Alright, I'm gonna leave it at that because I feel like I could ramble on so long about this topic. I think it's a very interesting idea to talk about, because I've been so long into 9k ranks and 10k ranks, and recently for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months I've been leaderboards, and interesting to see how my mindset changed and how things change regarding this topic. So if you have any questions though about what I just said, or you want to talk about the meta, how has the meta been for you, please let me know. Or you want to talk about the upcoming patch, things that you think are going to happen or that you're excited about, please share it down below. I had a lot of fun having a discussion last time. I think it's very cool to have, these open conversations about Battlegrounds. So just spill it down below. I try to read everything and engage and reply. Yeah, that's it. If you're new here, of course, don't forget to subscribe. First time here, like the video. It takes 1 second, helps me out. And I'll catch you in the next episode of Yepboat. Have a good day and good luck on the Battlegrounds.